Alright, I've made a bunch of updates to the OS4 library that I want to share. I'm going to actually have separate videos for each one of these pieces to go a little more in detail because I just want to kind of show some stuff, but I'll have links to all the individual videos on each piece of this. So first addition to the OS4 library is I'm going to start adding more options for transitions, particularly related to effects. The beginning one is going to be your Lockup End Transition. So transitions with Proffie can be added anywhere, but if you add transitions either before or after certain effects, it actually enhances that effect. So by default, all my lockups, localized lockups on the library, as well as lightning block, everything, they've got transitions built in. But now, instead of just being a single transition, I'm actually going to give you the option to choose. I'm starting with the Lockup End because that one is the most prominent. But over time I'll just expand on that. So what's going to happen for all of my lockups, there's initially a full blade flash, and that's based on the films. When in the films, all the lightsaber battles, when the two sabers come together, there's a quick bright flash that almost blinds you. It affects everything. So those right now are always going to be a quick bright flash, and then you'll have your localized lockup. This is responsive, so it does respond to the blade angle. But now there's going to be 4 options for the end lockup, and that's when you release lockup. How does that power, so the power being concentrated in the center of the blade, where those two blades meet, how does that how does that get dispersed along the blade? There's going to be 4 options. The first one I'm going to show, this is absorb. This is the one that's currently been used, so it's going to be the first option, but now I've added 3 options. So when I first do lockup, I'm going to get a quick flash of the whole blade. I'm going to get my localized lockup that will respond to my blade angle. And then when I release it, the absorbed version, that power will be spread over the whole blade and absorb in quickly. So let me show you. So I've got my responsive lockup, and then when I let it go, you'll see that quickly dissipate across the whole blade, or absorb across the whole blade. So that is the absorbed version that you can choose now. And this will be on the enhancement screen after you chose your style. Under lockup, you'll have the lockup transition end, and that's what these 4 options are. So let's go to the. So this is the next one. This one is dissipate. So instead of the whole blade being affected here, this one has that, and all of these use the responsive controls, so they know where that lockup section is. Dissipate is going to follow that lockup section, but when you release it, it's actually going to split that lockup and send it up and down the blade, and it's going to dissipate across the blade. So you'll get your quick flash of the full blade, you'll get your localized lockup again, and then you'll get a dissipate as the end transition on this one. And you'll see it split across the whole blade, and it runs up and down the blade. Now it changes based on the blade angle because it's using that location of that lockup. So if I have my blade here, it dissipates from that center, and that was part of the trick, was getting the transition to also recognize the responsive controls. That's why I'm doing these kind of one at a time. It's a little extra to get those transitions to actually keep track of where that stuff is happening. But that was dissipate.
Prepare a boarding party.
And now this was actually one that was in OS3 that when I went to OS4 at first I wasn't able to get it working, and somebody had requested it. I don't remember who, I'm sorry, it was a while ago. But so I'm bringing the power ripple back. And power ripple, similar to dissipate, but it affects the whole blade. It's actually prominent for longer, and it's just a ripple of power up and down the blade from that, again, that center point location. So I got my lockup, and then when I let it go, I get that power ripple up and down the blade. And you can change the timings on those. I purposely made power ripple a little bit longer just because of what's happening. But if it's on the blade for too long and you don't like it, you can always just shorten that transition time. But I'll show that one again. And again, it's going to keep track of that position, and it's going to ripple out from that location. And then this last one, this one is going to be burst. And this one is actually just a mirror of what happens. So when you first lock up, you get the quick flash, localized lockup. With burst, it's going to reverse. You're going to have the localized lockup, then you get a quick flash of the blade as if that whole blade is affected again as you pull apart. So this one is a full blade burst, and then it fades out. So you get that quick white flash over the blade. So those are the 4 transitions now going to be available for the lockup end. And as I get more time, I'll be building other transitions and adding to the library. I'll add more options to all this. But for those who are looking to do a little bit different transition on the lockup end, particularly if you were looking for that power ripple effect, that's now an option in the enhancement screen. So I just wanted to make that available. Now, I've also got, this is based on a request on TRA. Oops. So the request on TRA was posted a couple days ago, and I know Brian No Sloppy replied, and I actually was having a similar thought when I saw his reply. So he did have the same idea. But so what I'm doing, I have my gesture file active. So the gesture file, obviously you can do your swing on, your twist off, your twist on. I don't have stab on this saber active. But so now on that gesture file, and there's a separate thread that I'll link to with instructions, I've added a new control to kind of handle the dual phase request. I'm calling it multi-phase because it's not going to be just 2 styles that work with it. Essentially what it is it's enabling the ability to change your presets while live or while on. So typically you would change your preset using your aux button or whatever while the saber is off. The request was to be able to go through different colors, styles, and font sounds while the blade is active. And right now the method to do it is actually to just advance the preset either forward or backward using the control while the blade is on. I do know Frederick's already probably thinking up other ways for future OS, so this is maybe the first shot at it. But for anybody who wanted to play with it, particularly the people requesting it, this is now going to be available in my gesture prop file. You will add a define. Again, I'll have the instructions, FET263 multi-phase. And the idea is, while your blade is active, if you hold the aux button and do twist, it'll advance to the next preset, keeping the blade on. So the idea was based on Karan Horn, who has the 2 crystals in his blade. He turns his hilt, and the crystal goes from a silver blade to a purple blade. And now if I want to go back, I can hold power and twist, and it goes back. But the reason I'm calling it multi-phase is it's for all your presets. So I did make a change to the font files. You'll hear a mechanical sound for the font.wave, because when you change presets, the system, the OS is still going to play that font.wave for each preset. So to avoid tracks or avoid spoken names of the fonts, I just replaced font.wave with a mechanical sound to make it a little more realistic. But now you can keep going through your presets while the blade is on, just holding aux and twist, and I'm not limited. So you hear a different font, different style, different color, different font, so it's a different preset. Different preset. So now with the multi-phase defined, holding aux and twisting is going to advance your presets, and then holding power. Oops. This one's hard for me with this, the way I'm holding the saber. You can go backwards, so you can keep going backwards and forwards, and essentially make it seem like you have multiple crystals in your saber, and it'll do all your presets. There'll be instructions in the gesture file. You do have to, for the gesture controls, like swing on in particular, there is also a second file you had to change in your OS, but you'll get, and there's also defines you add to your config, but now you can have the multi-phase control added to your saber to play around with. And it's, because it's a combination that's not typically used, it won't get in your way either, so nobody really, the holding of aux and twisting, holding of power and twisting wasn't a used section. It was on the control, on the color change fork, which is where I kind of got the idea for it. That was the original effect scroll implementation. So now I've moved that over to the gesture file for OS 4.7 to enable this multi-phase capability. This will be, I'll have a lot more information up on the TRA thread, both in the gesture controls as well as how to use the multi-phase. So lots of stuff. I'm going to have, like I said, I'll have in the comments and description, I will have the links to the individual videos on all these pieces, just because I went into a little bit more detail, but I wanted to just announce this for anyone interested. So hope you enjoy.